Today we're going to be trying to understand what negative numbers mean in real world scenarios. So the way we're going to be doing that today is with money, and we're going to do it in a very simple way. We're going to talk about buying and buying things, how much you have at the beginning, how much you have at the end. So in this scenario that I set up, this is you here. You're looking a little bit worse for wear, but you got $14 to your name and you need a little bit of food. Mr. Moneybags over here on the other side, he's got the food that you want, and it costs $10. The food costs $10. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and set up an equation using these values with addition or subtraction to try to explain how much money you'd have afterwards after buying this food. So it would be good if you at home to pause the video, try and make your own equation to see if you really understand how you can represent this using an addition or subtraction. So the way we're going to set this up is we start off with $14. This is how much we have to begin with. And if we want to buy the food here, it's going to cost us $10. So we can think about that as taking away $10 from what we have. So now we can think of what we're left with is going to be $4. So this would be an equation that would explain having $14 and buying a $10 meal. It's like taking away positive 10 from your $14. So the next scenario we're going to set up is going to be a little bit more complicated. It's going to use a bit more negative numbers that we've been talking about in our previous videos. So in this scenario, you still have $14 to start with, and you still want to buy something from a store. This time, instead of a $10 meal, you're going to want to buy a $20 shirt. Now the first thing you should realize is that you only have $14 to start with. But the shopkeeper is pretty nice. He says, don't worry, I'll let you pay back what you owe me afterwards. So let's see if we can, so he lets you buy the shirt even though you haven't paid the whole amount, as long as you promise to pay him back eventually. So again, let's take a minute, let's try to figure out exactly how we could write this as an equation. If we wanted to buy this food, and we started with $14, just like the previous example, we're going to be taking away our cost of the $20 shirt. So I'm 14 taking away 20. And what we're going to do now is that's going to equal, and if you follow our tile method or use a calculator, or if you can work it out in your head, if we have 14 plus 14 and we take away 20 positive dollars, we're actually going to be left with a negative amount of money. So in this case, negative $6. Now you might be thinking, well, what does negative $6 really mean? Well, that's the amount of money that you owe. So you can think of negative money being money that you owe to somebody. So in our last example for today, we're going to be looking at just one more little word problem, or thinking about adding, subtracting positives and negatives in more real world scenarios. We're going to continue on with the previous example. You've now bought in the shirt and you owe the shopkeeper $6. You have negative $6. But the shopkeeper, he's feeling very nice today. He says, well, listen, you only have to pay me back half of what you owe me. Okay? So in essence, instead of negative $6, it's only going to be half of that you have to pay him. So what we want to do is how much money do we now have or owe after we only have to pay back half of the total amount. So we're going to try and do this as an equation. So we have negative $6. That's what we owe the shopkeeper. And in essence, he's saying we only have to pay back half of that. So half of 6 is 3. So we're going to be taking away from our debt, because our debt is going to be getting smaller. And we're going to be taking away negative $3. So if you think about that, because he's removing our debt, and we've talked about how our debt is going to be represented as negative numbers. So if we're taking away negative numbers, we've learned that in our previous video, that's going to make our value go up. So if you have negative 6 and we take away negative 3, that's going to leave us with negative $3 that we still owe Mr. Moneybags. So that does it for a little bit of contextualization for how to represent positive and negative numbers in kind of simple real world problems using money. Let me know if this was clear or a little bit confusing. We can do other examples of different ways of representing positive and negative numbers in real world scenarios.